Hello, everybody, and welcome back to World Talks. Now, the recent successes in fighting against drug mafias have been cause for optimism, but the staggering 200 kilograms of narcotics recently seized by police officers is staggering. This means that a powerful crime organization is involved and making money. Now we're joined by Deputy Inspector Michał Aleksandrowicz to discuss whether Poland has become a Central European powerhouse for the production of synthetic opioids. Hello, and thank you very much for joining us on World Talks tonight. So, first of all, congratulations on this operation. It's a big public safety issue, and it definitely saves lives. So first off, let's talk about how you prepared for this operation and how many officers really were involved in such a large-scale bust.
So first, I would like to thank you for the invitation to this broadcast today, because we think that saying loudly what is the issues related to the drug markets, to the drug threats in the EU that we currently have to challenge, I think that this is something which is really significant for us as a law enforcement. Answering your question regarding the number of the officers who took participate in the operation, it is almost 200. Which took part in the operations in Poland and Ukraine simultaneously, because this activity was not only the activity of the Polish law enforcement of the Police Central Bureau of Investigation, where I'm the head of the organized drug department, but also from the colleagues from the National Police of Ukraine, from the colleagues exactly from the Department for Combating Drug Crimes. So within the action days which we have undertaken in July and August this year, so we have made possible to dismantle 3 laboratories, plus also additional 5 laboratories in the recent time. This was a big effort because the synthetic opioids laboratories is not something common in the EU. The case, which we have already almost finalized, the case was related to the production of methadone. Methadone is the synthetic opioid, which is quite well known already in the market as a medical treatment for the people who are opioid addicts. But the criminals have also found that it could be also manufactured illicitly and sold on the darknet drug markets. Mm-hmm.
So where did this originate from? How did you guys get on this case and find these laboratories?
As this is the life of the law enforcement officers, so we could not reveal everything.
Operational security.
But still, I have to say that, and I will underline this totally, that the international cooperation that we have, also under the umbrella of the Europol, this is something which makes us stronger together. And this is, I believe, the answer for this question.
Mm-hmm. I think many of our viewers are probably curious as to how big of a problem this is. We were just speaking before this interview. In the United States, this is a horrible, horrible epidemic that is affecting probably millions of people. We don't really necessarily see that here in Europe. What do you think are the biggest problems, and could we see this eventually becoming a bigger problem in Europe, the synthetic opioids?
Speaking about the situation in the EU is quite challenging, I would say, because the issue, the origin of the problems connected with the synthetic opioids is also originating from the heroin. Because all the problems which are originating from the problem of the synthetic opioids are linked to the situation which we had in the past. Poland in the 80s and 90s was seen as a market for the heroin. We also had some, I would say, national products, like it was a Polish heroin. In Polish it's called kompot. Mm-hmm. In this case, all the people who were using these kind of drugs, they already died. So the use of the synthetic opioids is a short-term story, because these are this group of the drugs which are very potent, and it's extremely easy to overdose them. So this is why they are not so popular in our country. But we have to look also from the dimension of the drug producers, drug kingpins, which produce the drugs. What do they want to do? They want to gain the money. So if their client is going to die because he's likely to overdose when he's using the synthetic opioids, then it's not the business. So this is why in our country, at least in Poland, there is not such a big interest in the synthetic opioids, rather in the drugs like the amphetamine, methadone, clefedrone. These are the drugs which we mostly seize as a Police Central Bureau of Investigation. I have to say that I asked today the colleagues from the National Police Headquarters about the seizures of the fentanyl that we have in the recent years. And since 2021, it is something around 300 grams. Mm-hmm. So it's not a lot, I would say, but it doesn't mean that we don't keep an eye on it. So we still monitor this issue. This is also not a common knowledge that Poland is doing a little bit more on the European scene of the law enforcement, because since 2010, Poland is the leader of the European platform, which is called EMPACT NPS Synthetic Drugs. So we deal with all the issues related to the synthetic drugs and the new psychoactive substances. And this platform is organized, is funded by the European Commission and also by the General Secretariat of the Council and supported by the Europol. And since 2010, Poland, together with the Netherlands, are in fact driving this priority for all the European member states. And what is linked to the operational action plans, because Poland, together with the Netherlands, is constructing the annual action plan for all the member states regarding the synthetic drugs. So this is quite challenging also for us to have a very good overview, very good picture of this, what is happening in the EU, and to find the appropriate tools to fight these challenges.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Now, concerning these particular laboratories that were discovered, was their primary market here in Poland or was it abroad? Where were these the target countries of these drugs being sold?
As far as we know, the methadone, which was produced on this lab, the biggest one, it was disseminated all around Europe. There is no certain number of the countries which was affected. It's rather the matter of demand. Or is I would say a demand in particular country to which this drug could be transferred. But this lab was a very specific one because the criminals were not only producing the methadone, they were also producing the synthetic catenyl alpha PVP. In this lab, we have seized 175 kilos of pure methadone, but also 153 kilos of the alpha PVP. Alpha PVP is quite known in the US as a flakka. So this is also quite, I would say, understandable for the people who are watching us from the US, that that we have quite similar problems here in Poland, that we also observe the rising trend of appearance of the synthetic catenols also in Poland, but also European Union member states. The statistics that we know from the General Secretariat Inspectorate is that in the last year, in 2023, there were identified 28 cases where people overdosed drugs and they died. But out of these 28, 15 were connected to the overdose of the synthetic catenol, so the methadone, clefadrone, and other derivatives.
Okay, so it's something that could potentially be a problem and that you guys have to keep the society safe and keep your eyes on. Now, the operation involved working with authorities and services from many countries, including Ukraine. What does working with the Ukrainian authorities look like in times of war?
For colleagues, for our counterparts from the Ukraine, for sure it's challenging because despite of the fight for the freedom for their home country, they also have to focus on this, what is happening internally. So despite of the problems which they have during the war, they also have to make, I would say, the internal war with the drug criminals, which is also quite challenging for them because they have to focus on the multiple areas. So this is why we as a Poland, but also within the EMPACT synthetic drugs platform, we constantly support the Ukraine. And whenever we see that there is any need for the colleagues to support them, we just do it.
I'm curious as to whether, since the war has been going on and raging for all this time, have some of these elements come to Poland from Ukraine? Because we've seen millions of refugees come to Europe or to other European countries.
Yes, we have monitored this issue, that this kind of movement of the people, because we have already got some experience from the other case, like the Arabic states or from the former Yugoslavia, that it could increase the crime rate in the field of the drugs, but it didn't happen. So the situation didn't change significantly, and we also haven't recorded even more than usual numbers of the foreigners who are committing the drug crimes in our country. I believe that this is mostly the issue of the countries where maybe they are the final destination of the people, that maybe also some criminals try to move their criminal businesses to those countries. But the most effective thing that we do is to monitor, to see and cooperate with the colleagues from the Ukraine, but also from the other countries, and exchange the information about the potential targets which could move their criminal businesses to the other countries.
For people who don't need strong painkillers, and are not addicted to drugs, all of these various opioid names don't really ring a bell. What kinds of substances are these, and what risk do they pose to the users of these drugs?
Yeah, at first, I would say about the synthetic opioids, this is because this is the top one threat, which we are discussing when we speak about the methadone. The lethal dose of the methadone is around 50 milligrams. So this is not a lot. If you would put it on the table, it's just like a few small crystals like from the sugar. So this is the critical amount, but when the people who's gonna consume it, it's gonna shortly die. So if we speak about the children, this amount decreases. This is 10 to 15 milligrams. So this is very small number. When we speak about the fentanyl, the lethal dose is 2 milligrams. So it's even 25 times more or less than we speak about the methadone. So this is quite challenging situation from the health system, that if you have got the person who got intoxicated by this kind of the drugs, you have to react also very quickly just in order to prevent the death or the fatal intoxication of this person. When we speak about the synthetic catechins, these are in fact the substances from the other group, because the methadone or the fentanyl, they are the depressants. The drugs from the group of the catechins, they are more giving more euphoria to the people, so they can be treated more like a party drugs. But this also have the huge impact on the nervous system, on the heart, on the brain, which could also lead to the fatal cases where the people are just warming some up. They get the heart attack or get some complications with the nervous system. So there are two different stories when we speak about the catechins and the opioids, which are the part of this case.
Right, and are some of these drugs being used to, be mixed in with other recreation or drugs that people use for recreational purposes, like party drugs as you describe them?
Saying on this Polish background, we rather do not see these kind of situations. We know from this European background that sometimes then the heroin is mixed with the fentanyl, which is causing that it's even more dangerous for the potential users, because if they are used to getting the heroin, but if they will get it even once with the add-on of the fentanyl, they could die. So it happens. Right. It happens for sure.
Exactly. Now, we also discussed the situation in Afghanistan. It was very interesting what you told me, so I'm going to ask you to tell our viewers. Have you seen a reduction in the amount of heroin that is on the market since the Taliban has taken over?
It's a huge change in the market. And in these publications produced by the other EU agencies which are responsible for the monitoring of the drugs with Europol or the newly developed European Drug Agency, we see that there is a huge decrease of the availability of the heroin. We, as a police center Bureau of Investigation, we also see that heroin is not available on the market. So this is why there is a room for the substances from the group of the synthetic opioids, because if you are not able to get the heroin, so you are looking for the alternative. And the alternative is something that you can produce in a factory, in the illicit laboratory, and in this case, this is why the substances like the methadone are becoming popular in some countries, also like the fentanyl as well. I have to say that methadone is also a treatment for the people who are the opioid addicts, but this amount of this substance which the people get, it's a very small, very, very small amount, which is giving this possibility to use it as a therapy. So the people are using this for the years, and they can function normally in the society. But when we speak about this form of the methadone, which we have seized on the illicit lab, this is the form of the crystal. The one which is used in the treatment, this is the liquid form with the very low percentage of the active substance. When we speak about the crystals, the purity of is around 96-97%. So it's more highly potent and more dangerous for the potential users. There is a very quite interesting fact that we have found during the monitoring of the various sources of the methadone in Poland. There are not so many offers. I could count them with my one hand, but there was a very interesting thing written by one of the resellers. He wrote, "This is not a drug," he speaks about the methadone, "for the newbies." So this is only for somebody who is already familiar with the synthetic opioids, know how does it work, because if you buy it and if you are not aware what you are doing, you die. So it was even written by the drug seller. So this is quite interesting that even those people, of course, like I said at the beginning of our interview, that they're also looking for the money.
Right.
So if you kill your client, it doesn't count anymore in this case. So this is a sad story from the one hand, but it also gives the imagination how works the drug markets in the real life.
Exactly. Well, it's a major public safety issue, as I mentioned at the beginning of the interview, and I think probably everybody watching is very thankful that you do what you do, sir. Deputy Inspector Michał Aleksandrowicz, thank you very much for joining us on World
Thank you very
Talks.
much.
And that concludes this edition of World Talks. I hope you've learned something. I certainly have. Thank you for joining us, and stay with us for more here on TVP World.